Hi there and welcome to another video of GTMtraining.com with me, Julian, and today we want to talk about what's new in GTM for February 2015. And we'll talk about cool new features within GTM, but also what has happened in the community of Google Tag Manager in terms of new resources that you can use to up-level your GTM skills. Before we get started, as always, these little videos are brought to you by my Udemy course on Google Tag Manager. You can find out more about this at gtmtraining.com/YouTube. All right, let's dive into it. First things first, what has changed in Google Tag Manager? The new version of Google Tag Manager is ever changing. So we have some new features. And the first one I want to show you here is we have these tables where we have all our tags in here. This is the recent activity, but now we have the capability of sorting our tables. And this is really useful if you have a big container. I don't have a lot of tags in here, but if you would imagine that you have hundreds of tags in here, you can easily sort by the type of the tags. So this is really useful and a nice addition to the UI of Google Tag Manager. Now the second biggest change here is a little bit of the workflow. So once you go into new and create a new tag, you are presented with this workflow, and there is a little bit of a change because the trigger was previously on the second stage and the third stage would be the configuration of the tag. So these places have swapped and now you configure the trigger actually after the tag. And once we go through an example here, let's try this. You can actually leave this all free, and then on the last page you have the triggers. And in the triggers itself there has been a little bit of a change. So if you want to trigger this tag on a form trigger, we would also see here a change in the names here of the steps. So there is a new step called enable when and fire on. So if you have a form here, we would have the enable when feature, which basically is the rule when to deploy this form submit listener. Once you went through that, you'll be able to filter down on your forms and only trigger a form submit upon a certain action. So there has been a little bit of a change, and probably the most exciting change here in the new UI is a new match type. So we not only have the normal as equals, contains, and the regex, but now we have a new selector here, which is the CSS selector. And if you know CSS a little bit, then you know that this is a really great feature to target certain elements with your triggers in an intuitive way if you know CSS. So this is really a great new feature within the new UI of Google Tag Manager. Now let's go over to some resources. So the first one is a presentation by Phil Pierce on the migration of an old container to a new container. So I would urge you to go through this presentation if you are currently migrating or thinking about migrating your container to the new version. Then we have a blog post by Simo Ahava, and the first one here, really this one is the first one, is about enriching the search engine results with Google Tag Manager. So there has been a change in the Webmaster Tools that you now can include JSON LD data in your site, and Google will pick that up and feature that in the search results that you see on the organic search sometimes. And Simo has tried out to deploy this JSON LD data through a custom HTML tag successfully, I must say. It would look something like that. And this will be picked up by Google Organic Search and then displayed in the search result pages. And you can then check this up with the structured data tool that is available in the Webmaster Tools. So this is really a neat way to enrich your search results through Google Tag Manager. And the second post he wrote about SEO really was injecting the metadata that is indexed by google.com. So here there was an announcement made in the Webmaster Central blog, which said that Google will interpret your site with JavaScript turned on, so it will be able to render the JavaScript that you have on your page. And this led Simo to believe that he can inject the meta tags that are very important for the Google search crawler. And so he ran a little bit of a test, and without having any meta tags on the page, he was able to successfully deploy his meta tags through Google Tag Manager. So this is really a nice addition for anybody who's doing SEO out there and doesn't have direct access to the website to deploy meta tags. And if you know of the capabilities of GTM, you can also use variables to make this much more dynamic than maybe before. Then another great blog post which came from Yehoshua Koren, and he talks about how to install real time on page in Google Analytics and deploys this through Google Tag Manager. So what this really does is measure when the tab is in focus and is off focus, and calculates the time between that, and then pushes it over as a custom metric to Google Analytics, and you'll be able to see real time on page within Google Analytics. So if you're interested in that, check that out at analyticsninja.com. And the last addition here to this little video is a new plugin by Chris Berger. He has written a plugin to inject Google Tag Manager onto any page that maybe doesn't have Google Tag Manager installed yet. So it's a Chrome plugin, and you can install it in the Chrome extension store, and it will give you this little window where you can input the GTM container ID, and this will deploy Google Tag Manager on the site that you are on at the moment. So this really can help you if you want to prepare tags in advance before the client maybe has deployed Google Tag Manager on his page. So check that out at onlinebehavior.com. And that's it for this week's video. If you want to have more resources, go over to gtmtraining.com. If you like this video, please subscribe or like this video. And if you have questions or concerns or suggestions or comments, please put them into the comment section below this video. I'm Julian, till next time. Now let's dive into our today's topic, which is custom HTML tags. And once we log into our Google Tag Manager account, we can see the tag option of custom HTML tags once we open up a new tag down here in the section under choose your tags. Now important to know is that these here are all, so we will use the all pages trigger to trigger our Google AdWords remarketing tag. Let's take a look at a live example. So here we are in our demo store, and all we need to do to deploy it, we need to have Google Tag Manager installed. Then we can head over to our Google Tag Manager account. We click on new tag. We want to deploy a Google AdWords